Good afternoon, and thanks for joining our annual meeting, albeit virtually. We'll try to keep this meeting short and to the point, while at the same time answering the questions that you submitted over the past few weeks. First, some background on myself. I was elected to the Sugar Mill HOA in the spring of 2019 as the compliance officer under then-President John Batza. About a year later, the board elected me president. It wasn't just the pandemic that made 2020 a challenging year for all of our residents. The Utilities Commission's never-ending electrical project added to our collective discomfort. Now, before I talk about what the board accomplished in 2020, I'd like Bob Ward, our treasurer, to provide his financial update.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Ward, treasurer of the Sugar Mill Homeowners Association. I'm here to give you a financial report on the year ending December 31, 2020. Our reports and documents are all prepared by our accountants, Charles L. Beloit and Associates, and they have furnished the two major documents I'm going to show you today, which are our revenues and expenses and our balance sheet. These are independent consultants, and they issued a statement which I'll read to you, saying that they have reviewed our year-end financial statements, advising that they are not aware of any material modifications that should be made to be in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. And then they supplied the documents. If you want to get more detailed documents for this year or any other year, you can get them in our homeowner's office during business hours. I want to point out that we are in good financial shape, but I will start just to give you some idea of how we've done for the year. You'll be happy to know that we are keeping the dues unchanged from what they were last year. And the dues, for those who are not familiar, are $510 for a developed lot, $255 for an undeveloped lot, and $127.50 for a developed lot. I will now bring up our statement on revenues and expenses for your review. You will note on the first line of revenues that almost all of our money comes in from regular assessments for our members. We received $407,872 from our members, and that was the majority of our money. The next thing we do make money on are estoppel transfer fees. Now this year we made $17,800. This is a very difficult thing for us to estimate because we get $300 every time a sugar mill home is sold and the sale is completed. Once it's closed, we get the money. So we don't know how many homes will be sold each year. You will find out that really our money every year is basically the same. It's not going to change unless we change the dues or get a lot more members, and we don't have a lot of property to develop, so that's not really going to happen. You will notice for the year that our total revenue was $434,190. Our expenses are broken down, and you can again note the two major expenses are maintenance and grounds, which obviously you're very familiar with, to take care of all our common grounds and keep the area looking good, and our security, which you are very also familiar with. So these are the two major expenses, and everything else is really here to support those operations. We had total expenditures for the year of $426,296, which gave us a surplus of $7,894. We plan, when we start the year, to basically budget all the money that we think we're going to get in and end up with basically zero or a small surplus if we don't have any unexpected expenses such as hurricanes and other things. We do put in a little contingency for that, but basically we plan to spend most everything we're going to get. The money that's left over at the end of the year, we roll over into our operating funds for the next year to give us just a little cushion in case we do have more expenses. the next year. I'd like to now show you our balance sheet, which explains the cash position that we have. If you will look at the first item under assets, we have cash of $206,697. Then this includes all the money that we have received through December. If we look at some of the money received in our January fund was actually prepaid dues from members for the year 2021. So we do deduct those when we compare the year to see how we looked. So if you really wanted to get an exact comparison, you would have to deduct the money which we had received the previous year, and that includes $135,000 at $46. So the actual cash that we had for the end of the year would have been $71,651. If you look at the liabilities and accounts, the prepaid assessments that you will see under liabilities are that $135,000 that came in as prepaid dues. We ended up the year with a fund balance of $106,000 and with the liabilities we have $299,120. In summary, though, I wanted to say, as I said, we are in good financial shape. We budget each October for what we think we will spend the next year. We review it with the members of the board that are responsible for their areas and determine what they think they will need the next year. If we don't think there's any big changes, we keep the budget basically the same and make changes only as necessary going into the year. As I said before, we've been able to keep our expenses in line and have managed to not increase dues for 2 years, and that's, I know, very important to the membership. So I want to reiterate that we are in good financial shape. We have plenty of money to cover the year. We do have to watch it because we get almost all the money we're going to spend for the year in January, and then during the year we slowly but surely deplete the money we have, and at the end of the year, hopefully we plan to end up with exactly zero. So we've come very close this year, and we think that the board has done a good job in controlling expenses. Thank you.
Bob Ward is one of the 2 board members who is leaving us, and I want to thank him for his over 3 years of service as HOA treasurer. Okay, in 2020, besides the pandemic and the Utilities Commission, we were confronted with a community infrastructure that had begun to decline in many ways. And I'm very proud of the way our board members rose to the challenge. We're fortunate to have Rebecca Parrott oversee maintenance. Rebecca pushed the city to come in and properly repair the sidewalk, and once completed, had it power washed. I'd like to point out that this cleaning is not mandated in the DCC and ours, but was born out of concern for both our resident safety and the appearance of our community. We are now in the process of doing the same for sections of the sidewalk in Sugar Mill Gardens, as well as following up on these small potholes on Clubhouse that a resident emailed us about. In addition, Rebecca established a policy to improve the appearance of our common areas. A special shout out of appreciation for Bob Roble for the work he's doing with her on this. Now, Maureen Terrell, despite only living in Sugar Mill for a little over a year, became one of the best DRB chairpersons I think the HOA has ever had. She oversaw the recent repair, painting, and power washing of our guardhouses, gates, walls, fences, and signage. And I'm sure you'll agree that they've never looked better. Another shout out here to Gary Johnson Services, who did an excellent job on this project. In 2021, Maureen and her committee will continue to work closely with every resident to ensure that Sugar Mill remains the most desirable place to live in New Smyrna Beach, whether you're retired, working, or raising a family. For several years now, Michael Shulsky has come to mean security in our neighborhood. This past year, I was constantly amazed by Mike's handling of vendors who damaged our west gate to the tune of over $7,000 in repairs, and along with him then personally chasing down speeders and intruders. He constantly monitors the guards to make sure they do their job and keep the security vehicle ready and running for their nightly rounds. Michael's also always very happy to confront uninvited salespeople going door to door, and he has a great relationship with the local police to better protect Sugar Mill and its homeowners. We received a question about the West Gate and a suggestion about a different design, which we will investigate in the coming weeks. In terms of the privacy question we got, we have never sold and never will the HOA mailing list. Having done it myself for a year, I don't think there is a more difficult role for a board member than to be the compliance officer. Ann Williams has had her hands full checking the community for problems, staying on top of ones that are not addressed, following up on enforcement, and much more. Now, it's important for everyone to understand that the compliance officer doesn't tour the neighborhood every day. Ann may pass a house on Thursday, and the next day there's lawn debris sitting out in front of it. Now, a neighbor may see that 24 hours later, but the compliance officer might not for a week or more. Let's all remember then that being a good neighbor means talking to your neighbors first about your problems, and the HOA second. Per a question from a resident, we will continue to remind everyone periodically to follow city guidelines in terms of watering, recycling, garbage and lawn waste pickup, and contractor obligations, while respecting the DCCNR articles as well. Although not a board member, Marvel Richards has served a critical role for the HOA as our city liaison. She updates us on what's going on, especially with regard to the nearby developments. We had a couple questions in this area, specifically regarding Advent Health and the northeast corner of Sugar Mill Drive and 44, the proposed water park near 95, Sabrina Lakes, Rolling Hills, Copper Creek, and the traffic light at Sugar Mill Drive and Pioneer. We are working with Marvel and preparing a complete report on these and other projects that we will email to all residents later this week. John Delavan, our HOA Vice President and Secretary and Director of this video, is also leaving the board after several years of service. John's guidance and understanding of the DCCNRs and their implementation has been invaluable to me and to our community, and I thank him for his hard work. We sent out an email last week on the Utilities Commission project I referred to earlier. I can assure you we are monitoring this regularly and have been since they broke ground last year. The point being we want to minimize the inconvenience for everyone as much as possible. Now, while unfortunately we cannot dictate to the UC how it conducts its business, we're always ready to get right in their face when necessary. It is the board that forced them to stop work during Thanksgiving and Christmas week so there would be no service disruption. It is the board that made sure their representative, Dana Hale, has been diligent in contacting residents who are experiencing problems. And it is a board that will make sure that the impacted yards and irrigation systems are restored properly to your satisfaction, not the UC's. In this coming year, we will continue to fight to protect the quality of life our residents enjoy. We will be addressing other aesthetic problems, enhancing our security presence to deter trespassers, and finding ways that prevent further damage to our West Gate. We will also be improving the way we communicate with residents by upgrading the website and establishing a social media platform. I want to thank Diana Crossman for her hard work all year as the administrative assistant to the HOA. And I would also like to now welcome our two new board members, Charles King and Butch Fry, who just were the victors in the recent election that we had. Now, according to our DCCRs, the HOA is mainly responsible for taking care of maintenance, security, and appearance. We believe our responsibilities run much deeper than that, and we hope this will be apparent to each of you every day in the coming year. Thank you.